Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. No importa la hora que sea, siempre es un gran momento para aprender español con Profesor Pablo. Our lesson again is the verb pensar followed by the infinitive, verb number 0. First of all, we want to point out a few expressions. Pienso que sí means I think so. Pienso que no, I think not. Creo que sí, I think so. Creo que no, I think not. Now, we've seen many cases where a verb in Spanish, if you look up the verb pensar in a dictionary, it will come out to think. But pensar can mean all of this below as well. We've seen it many times with many Spanish verbs. The translations to English and the usages can vary and be different, but very similar. So that's what we have here. Pensar plus infinitive, right? It can mean to plan to do something like pensamos ir, we plan to go. It could also be we plan on going, pensamos ir. I plan on being there. Yo pienso estar allí. Very common. Down here, to intend on doing something. Yo pienso ayudar. I intend on helping. Mamá piensa estar allí también. Mom plans on being there as well. Mom intends on being there as well. Mom plans to be there as well. Mamá piensa. The verb pensar, to think, here conveying the idea of intention or planning to do something. Down here, to think about, plus ing, and then we'll take a look at this, these two here. Pensar. For example, if you want to say, they're planning to get married this summer, you could say, están pensando casarse este verano. I plan on buying a new house next year. El año próximo, yo pienso comprar una casa nueva. Yo pienso comprar una casa nueva el año próximo, next year. Now, planear straight out means to plan, like page 1, page 2, page 3. You're writing down your plan step by step, right? Your attack plan, your plan. It's really serious. Planeamos estar en Europa el año próximo por 6 meses. We're planning to be in Europe next year for 6 months. This is planear, to plan, but pensar is much more communicative, much more common, much more everyday. Tener planes, you could say they have plans to get married. Tienen planes para casarse. Mom has plans to buy a car. Mamá tiene planes para comprar un carro. Mamá piensa comprar un carro muy pronto. Mom plans to buy a car real soon. Hacer planes. Dad is making plans to move to New York. Papá está haciendo planes para mudarse a Nueva York. Papá está planeando mudarse a Nueva York. Dad plans to move to New York next year. El año próximo, papá piensa mudarse a Nueva York. Vender. I plan on selling the house. Tengo planes para vender la casa. Pienso vender la casa. For example, someone has an RV, a motorhome, right? And you really like it and you're thinking about buying a motorhome. And you could say, wow, yo también estoy pensando comprar un RV. Estoy pensando comprar un RV. And that's the thought stage. Not necessarily there does it mean planning. You're in the thought stage. I'm thinking about buying a motorhome as well. Yo también estoy pensando comprar un RV, un motorhome. Some people might say pensar en, to think about doing something. For example, they're thinking about getting married. Piensan casarse tal vez. They're thinking about getting married, perhaps. If you say perhaps, that doesn't mean they're making plans for the ceremony. But you could say they plan on getting married in a month. Piensan casarse en un mes. Then they are making plans for the ceremony, right? It's more definite. But you could also say piensan casarse tal vez. They're thinking about getting married, perhaps. So pensar can be they're actually planning to do something, or pensar plus infinitive could be thinking about doing something. It can still be in the planning stages, right? And then here, some people might say, están pensando en casarse. I really don't hear that. I don't use it. It's not really common to my experience as a courtroom interpreter for decades. a professor and teacher for decades, but I'm not saying that it does not exist. I'm saying it's legit. You're just not going to hear it very often. Planear, again, that's something much more concrete. What's more communicative and daily is pensar. So we have all these different verbs here. Let's take a look at mudarse. They plan on moving to Ohio. Piensan mudarse a Ohio. That could be they're thinking about moving to Ohio. Like if the conversation is such that they're talking about moving somewhere and then someone says, yeah, I know them, los conozco. Piensan mudarse a Ohio tal vez. They're thinking about moving to Ohio perhaps. But if it's past the thinking stage and it's more in the planning stage, you could say, piensan mudarse a Ohio en 2 meses. They plan on moving in 2 months. So it can mean to think about doing something, pensar plus infinitive, or it can mean to plan, to intend on doing something. It just depends again on the context. Vender, we're planning on selling our house. Pensamos vender nuestra casa. He's planning on looking for another job. Él piensa buscar otro trabajo muy pronto. He's planning on looking for another job really soon. You could say, él piensa buscar otro trabajo. He's thinking about looking for another job. Again, more in the thinking stage than the planning stage, and you really don't know that until you hear it from someone and listen to his or her context. Here we go. Hacer un viaje. We plan on taking a trip to Europe. Pensamos hacer un viaje a Europa. Okay? If you say, estamos pensando hacer un viaje a Europa, that could mean we're thinking about taking a trip or we're planning on taking a trip. Again, one is more thinking about and one is more planning, but the same sentence can mean both depending on the context. Estar allí, Dad plans on being there. Papá piensa estar allí. We plan on taking a train. Pensamos tomar un tren. Okay? Pensamos tomar un tren. Tal vez. We're thinking about taking a train. Maybe. Unir fuerzas. They are thinking about uniting forces, joining forces. Están pensando unir fuerzas, thinking about. Let's say it's a company and they're buying out another company and you want to say they plan on joining together, uniting forces next year. El año próximo piensan unir fuerzas. There you go. Trabajar juntos. Yeah. On the next project, Mary and I, en el próximo proyecto, María y yo, we plan on working together. Pensamos trabajar juntos. We're thinking about working together. Pensamos trabajar juntos, tal vez, el año próximo. Again, it depends on the context. Pasar tiempo. I plan on spending a lot of time in Spain. Yo pienso pasar mucho tiempo en España. Viva España. Un país muy lindo. Pienso pasar mucho tiempo en España. Let's say you're planning a trip. You know you're going on the trip and you say, pienso pasar mucho tiempo en España cuando esté de vacaciones. When I'm on vacation, I plan on spending a lot of time in Spain. Tener una familia. Okay? They're planning on having a family. Ellos piensan tener una familia. They've already decided they want kids. It's a go. Green light. But you could say, están pensando tener una familia, pero no estoy seguro. They're thinking about having a family, but I'm not sure. Again, context, context, context. We hear it all the time on the news that someone is taken out of context. And it's true. Context determines the meaning of what people say. You got to pay attention to the context. It's critically important. Empezar de nuevo. Let's say there's been a tragedy, natural disaster, and they're planning on starting all over. Ellos tienen planes para empezar de nuevo. Piensan empezar de nuevo. They're planning on starting over. Someone who hasn't made the decision to start over, they could say, estamos pensando empezar de nuevo, pero no estamos seguros. We're thinking about starting over, but we are not certain. So there you go. Pensar plus infinitive, again, can mean to plan to do something, to plan on doing something, to intend on doing something, and to think about doing something. Pienso que sí, I think so. Creo que sí, I think so. Pienso que no, creo que no, I think not. Hacer planes, to make plans, tener planes, and planear, lo vamos a planear muy bien. We're going to plan it out really well. El viaje, lo vamos a planear muy bien. We're going to plan out the trip really, really well. There's your plan. You want your plan? There it is. Okay? Okay. Es todo por ahora. Gracias. Tengan un gran día. Cuídense mucho. Favor de suscribirse. Favor de compartir con otros. Favor de pasar la palabra de nuestro programa de español Learn Spanish Fast with Profesor Pablo, profesorpablo.com. Soy yo, Profesor Pablo, en Instagram y TikTok. Pero por favor, hagan clic en el botón de me gusta, por favor. Gracias. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Okay, thank you guys. Love you guys. You guys are amazing. I keep doing this because I love what I'm doing and I love my learners. The comments I get from you are very encouraging and you give me good ideas for new lessons. So please keep the comments coming. I really appreciate them. And most of all, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Hasta luego. Bye-bye.